There were a lot of things that happened in those 47 years. What a blessing it is, brother Fred. I'm honored and overjoyed to see your faces today. And I ask you to come to show respect to your elders and for my sake, and for your sake also, and to be a first for JC preaching here. That's the first, and we're looking forward to that. I want to recognize these people in groups right quick. If you call Christine, come up here and stand with us quick. We don't mind ordering over JC. You just have to talk to people too, if you ever get a chance. She didn't know she was out here.
And I was drafted into this family.
Right. She's no better half, you know that. She called me honey. She called me a lot of things. She's my wife. How many of you call me daddy? Talking about in-laws too. Stand to your feet if you call me daddy. Stand to your feet if you call me daddy. I want other people to see. Now, if you're in-law, if you're in-law. Okay, you can be seated. How about Grandpa? How many of you call me Grandpa? Woo, look at that. We have 9 grandsons, so the Irish name's going to go on quite a while. Okay, thank you. Now let's see. Yeah, how many calls me uncle? Thank you.
Come on, Travis.
Thank you very much. How many of you would call me a cousin if you got a chance? These were second cousins. I told you before, it's a family, a church family. We don't have those first cousins. They all know. And I'll tell you something. Lord's been good to me and let me live a long time. I'm so thankful for it. This guy I never met him but one time. He's my second cousin. He learned me a trick. You know, I like tricks. He showed me one. I still got it. And we're going to get better acquainted today. And this next week. And also, really, we got several more that are coming from California and Indiana, and all the groups from Indiana. That none of them got here yet. And so, I want to invite you as a church family over here to come see us someday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. If you're going to bring a group, well, let us know so we can cook for you. But we serve supper at 6 o'clock. Tuesday night, we're going to have a good fireworks show. Wednesday night is talent night. That includes me. I got a lot of talent. It's just guys like that. Thursday night, we have a big auction. A lot of fun. We're going to be raising our ratings for the next weekend. And that does it. Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday. Thank you all. I just wanted to recognize, and it's going to be the death to see all of y'all here.
Can you hear me? Yes. That's good. I hope you can bear with my voice is scratchy. I've been in Washington, D.C. on my honeymoon, and they gave me some kind of Yankee bug, and it's not going very well, but that's all right. So, also, before we get down to business, I got to clarify the contest for favorite grandchild is still out of Fred Ivers here, because Robert delivered the message, and I'm just going to tell it to you. So, but that's still out. I just thank you all for being here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you out of my heart a little bit this morning. And I am an Ivers, and I am a male, and as many of you know, that does come with an accompanied stubbornness and ability to ignore instructions and helpful hints. And my father helped me out by giving me this great story to tell y'all. Last night, we were setting up a tent, which is me and my lovely wife's home for the second week of our marriage. It's got an AC unit. Come check it out. It's pretty cool. Redneck, but I like it. Anyway, we were setting it up and tried to pull out the instructions, and he said, don't do that. If you pull out the instructions, we have nothing to fall back on, and we're going to be lost. So, but I feel like we do that. We have Scripture, and I hope that as a Christian, it is part of our goal and part of our passion and part of our intention to live a life that glorifies God. I feel like y'all stole a lot of my thunder this morning. My mother got up here and talked about offering your body as a reasonable sacrifice, and that being a reasonable form of worship, a living sacrifice, and that being a reasonable form of worship. But that's what I want to share with you today, and I want to actually look at the guy who said that in Romans, and I want to look a little bit at Paul this morning and just a little bit of his example for us as we seek to honor God with our lives. So I'm going to dive right in and read with you. If you open up to Philippians chapter 1, he's starting out talking to these people that live in a place called Philippi, and it's a big town, and not a lot of Christians in this place. It's a hard time, and Paul's actually in prison for being a Christian at the moment when he's writing this. So I want to read from verses. Let's see here. That would have been good to write down. Verses 12 through 18. So I'm just going to start, and y'all can follow along. Now, I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ, and because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true motives, Christ is preached, and because of this, I rejoice. Amen. Let's pray together, and then we'll dive into God's word. Dear God, I thank you that you haven't left us alone, God. I thank you for each and every one here, God, the people that I know and trust and believe that have a passion to love you and serve you and lead a life that is honoring to you and to bring others to you, God, because that's a big part of that. So I thank you for that, and I thank you for every one of us here, God, and I pray that this morning we would look deeply into this little passage that you've given us that shows us about a man who did that better than possibly anyone else, God. So we just thank you for Paul and his example and what we can learn from it. In the name we pray. Amen. Amen. So, as a good Baptist boy, I got 3 points to share with you this morning, and then we'll close up. So I try and move through quick, and we'll get out of here around lunchtime. It'll be all right. So, the first one is something that Paul is doing here that I see as I just read this, is what I'd say Paul's showing up. If you're a note taker, write down show up. I'm not that important, so I'm working. So show up. He shows up. He's not. He is in prison, but he's not there doing nothing. He's not there pouting. He's not there just being sad about being in prison. Actually, if you look at the prison that he would likely be in, I've seen some pictures of prisons that they've excavated out of Rome and other places in this part of the world in this time period, and it would essentially be a hole in a rock underground, not unlike the graves that they built at those times. It's a very depressing place. He's probably not well nourished or taken care of at this point at all, but again, he's still doing something. He's still telling people about Jesus, and he tells us this. The whole palace guard knows that I'm in chains for Christ, and he's there still writing to people, still making sure that the gospel spreads, still serving the Lord, and leading that honoring life. And this is one of the points of, I think, following Christ and the example that Paul gives us that's so countercultural for us. Because we live in that culture that says, no, you don't have enough, you shouldn't be content because you don't have the ShamWow towel, or you don't have enough Dr. Pepper, because I don't. And but you know, we got magazines that tell us we need to look better, and commercials that tell us that they got things that we just got to have, and salesmen that come up and try and sell us something and call us on the phone because you can't get off the block list anymore, and it's annoying, but that's okay. The point is, we live in a culture that's not content with where we're at. We live in a culture that's not satisfied, that wants more and more and more and more. And the thing is, with Christ, we can be satisfied. We can sit and know that we're taken care of. Paul, same guy, says, for me to live is Christ, to die is gain. I'm not going to go there this morning, but in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, he talks a whole bunch about all the different things he's been through. He's been shipwrecked. He's been beaten. He's been stoned several times. People did things to him that they really, really meant to kill him. And he's still up and at it and content, because he even says, me living is not important. The point is I have Christ. So he's able to show up and be present no matter where he's at, no matter what the circumstances are. And I think that's a huge example we can take. I find myself doing that. I live a relatively comfortable life. I have a house and I have a place over my head, and I have not been concerned about a meal in a while, and it's a great thing. But I still find myself not content sometimes, not content in the Lord. And so showing up, being present, and being content is something we can do physically and spiritually. For me, I'm always the kind of guy that I like to say, you know, and it's not a good thing, but I'm in a small church, I'm a youth pastor, and I just think, you know, if I had more resources, if I had more money, if I had more people, I could do more and more and more for Christ. And that's, again, that's not contentment. That's not serving Christ where I'm at. It's always something that each of us can apply that idea of being content and willing to serve the Lord where we're at, no matter what that looks like. No matter what our situation is. That's just one for me. The other one, second point, is get up. He shows up and he gets up. He works hard for the sake of the gospel. And as I said, he's been imprisoned, he's been shipwrecked, he's been through a lot of things, and none of those have stopped him from actually getting up and doing work. He's in prison, he's writing letters. A lot of his letters are ones that he wrote while he was in prison. He was not ineffective. Again, we see the whole palace guard, this whole group of people knows that he's in chains for Christ. And he's also aware, somehow, he alludes to that because he's in prison, other people are emboldened to go out and share the gospel. He mentions that in verse 14 here of chapter 1. But I think we are really good at finding excuses not to get up, not to share, not to love, not to be who God is calling us to be. And there may be some of them that I even find myself in as an OBU student, where everyone at least says, you know, I'm a Christian, you know, that's not out of fashion there. I don't know anyone that's not a Christian. Well, that's not an excuse. There are people in our world and in our circle of influence that we do know that don't have Christ. So that's not an excuse. We also, you know, I'm afraid So that's not what God wants me to do. If I'm afraid of it, that's not what God wants me to do, and that's just not the case. When I look at that and I look at excuses not to do what God has called us to do, I don't think there's a better example than Moses. It makes me think of Moses in chapter 3 of Exodus. And God is speaking to him out of a burning bush and saying, Moses, I want you to go to Pharaoh and I want you to go to Egypt and I want you to tell him, I'm going to take this people group out and we're going to go worship God together and we're going to be out of here. And Moses has all these excuses. He didn't see himself as a worthy speaker for God. He said, I don't speak well publicly. And God told him, I'll tell you what to say. He was afraid that people like it, that maybe Pharaoh would ask him a question and he wouldn't have all the answers. And he said, I don't have the answers that I need to give Pharaoh. And God again tells him, I'll tell you what to say. And he's afraid. And he said, the people, they're not going to believe me because I'm just some guy that they haven't seen in 40 years. And if I go and tell these Hebrew people that we're going to go out and we're going to worship God, they're not going to believe me. I'm just some guy. I disappeared. I killed that guy and ran off. So he doesn't see himself as a worthy choice for God to use. And I think the incredible thing is maybe he wasn't by our human standards. And maybe Paul, who's a guy who went around literally killing Christians and got so busy killing Christians in Jerusalem that he had to go somewhere else to find some more to kill and persecute and imprison. That's who God chose to use. That's who God chose to share this message to us today. There are no excuses. What God said to Moses and what God says to us is you can tell them that I am has sent you. We're not going because we're good people and we have some moral code that we think will make them better. We're not going because we want them to live a healthy and wealthy life. We're going because God is with us, because He is, and He was, and He is to come. And we have power in what we're doing, not a spirit of weakness, but a spirit of boldness. We have I am with us. We don't have to be afraid to get up like Paul did. And the last one is look up. Paul gave all the glory to God. He talks in here about people who serve Christ and share the gospel for selfish motives, and he draws that distinction between people who are doing it out of envy and rivalry, and people who are doing it for selfish ambition versus people who are preaching the gospel and sharing about Jesus out of goodwill, and who truly want to make a difference, to be effective, to live a life that honors God. He draws a distinction between those two. Paul's looking up. He knows that in everything he's doing, he's following God. He's following Christ, and therefore he's doing it out of goodwill. That's an avenue by which we know that is we're following the Lord's leading and not our own. And I can say in my life, there have been times where it's hard for me to look and think, what does it look like to selfishly share the gospel? And Paul understands that. He says, anyway, even if people are doing it out of envy and out of spite and out of ambition for themselves, it's still a good thing because it's the word of the Lord, and it's true that Jesus died and He was rose up, and I rejoice because of that. But at the same time, there's a sense that it's still wrong. And I look back at my life and I think there is something where I can see this, where I wanted to do something that seemed very good. I wanted to share with people through music. If you'd have told me 3 years ago that I'd preach anywhere, much less here or anywhere at all, and I have several times now, that I'd tell you, I'm crazy. You're crazy. I can't talk. I'm not good at that. That's not my gift. I'm musically talented, and I am, and I enjoy that. But man, my mom slapped me in the face about, she didn't actually slap me, but with what she said, when I was a senior in high school, I wanted to go to Dallas Baptist University, which is not where I go to school, by the way. And I went up in there and I did my music audition. I'd been accepted to the university, but I needed to do better to get into the music school, and I needed a scholarship to be able to go. And about a couple of weeks later, I got the news back, I didn't get the scholarship, and I'm not going to be able to go to it. And man, out of the overflow of the heart comes the mouth, and what I said in my anger there, my frustration was, I'm never going to be a Christian musician. My true intentions came out of that anger and that frustration. I wanted to be, I don't know, Chris Tomlin, who is a top of the charts, platinum record selling musician that sings songs, and he does lead worship, and that's a great thing. That's his calling. That's not mine. It's what I wanted for myself. It was selfish and it was ambitious for me and not for the kingdom of God. It was ambitious. Yes, I'm going to get a lot of people to listen to my music and it's going to be so great. That's not what serving the Lord looks like. That's the way in my life that I've seen. No, I wasn't looking up. I was looking ahead. I was looking for me. And my mother helped me to see that. I don't remember what she said, but she basically said, sit down, shut up, and listen. That's not serving God. That's serving you. That was selfish ambition. And so we see that. But looking up, look to God for guidance, not to what we want. Our culture says follow your heart. That's ridiculous. Our heart is sinful and deceitful and will lead us astray every single time. Follow the Lord, and that will lead us to where we need to go. We show up, and we get up, and we look up. In closing, why? Why would we do that? It'd be a whole lot easier to sit down. For example, it'd be a whole lot easier to not do anything, to just say, I have the grace of Christ. That's enough. I'm thankful for that. That's great. I'm going to sit in that and be comfortable. One reason that that's not enough is that Scripture is pretty clear that you haven't experienced the grace of Christ, and that's your attitude. That should be something that should make you want to go, should make you want to love people the way that you have been loved by Christ and by God. But also, we have a world out there. I don't know if you've noticed, but in 2017, I don't know if I've ever heard of more shooting, terror attacks, bombings, knifings, running into people with a car, ever. You know, I know I'm young, I know I'm 20, but in my 20 years, this certainly works. I don't see things getting better. I don't see the light of Christ in the wide world. I don't see the hope that we have to offer in this story that Jesus came. He wasn't satisfied to let us go in our own way. It wasn't good. And he came and he died for us. And he rose up again. And we have that. The only hope, the only life, the only reason for living that I have ever seen that is worthwhile is that. And we have it. And it's our responsibility. It's our responsibility. So that's why. And I'm going to turn it back over to Brother Takami and just ask, if you want to recommit yourself to, say, hey, I've been sitting down. I ain't shown up. I ain't got up. I haven't looked up. It's been really easy to ignore the need that's in the world. That I have a story to tell, and it's worth telling. It's a story of life change that he Brother talked about.
Thank you. saying, we preach. We preach because, not my cause, but the cause of Jesus Christ. Show up, get up, important. But the most important thing is the source, the why. What reasoning? Why you come to church? Because grandpa said so, uncle said so. What else we come? Listen. Jesus died for me. That is a message. That is why. Yeah. Let's all stand.